Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing today? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is Three Buck Theater. And Kathleen Kennedy is a very interesting person to discuss because if you talk to one group of Star Wars fans, she is GOAT, greatest of all time. She has breathed new life into Star Wars and made it the insanely popular franchise that it is. If you talk to the other side of the fandom, they'd say the exact opposite. Me, I am in the middle when it comes to her. Let me explain as to why. Do I think that she has made immense strides to try to branch outward in regards to the franchise in ways that George Lucas would have never done because he never did it? Yeah, 100%. Have there been successes and have there been failures? Oh, 100%. Have there been more failures in the recent year and a half than there have been successes? 100%. But I do think now where things currently are, it's on an upward trajectory. And I say this because we're a month away from Mandalorian, which looks, oh my God, amazing. Jedi Fallen Order, which looks, oh my God, amazing. A couple months away from Clone Wars Season 7, which, come on. Yeah. And then Rise of Skywalker is coming out in 2 months. And again, that does look, oh my God, amazing. Now, I say this as a fan wearing an Ewok t-shirt in front of a whole bunch of other Star Wars merchandise, showing you precisely where my allegiance is to the franchise. I'm still a fan. I'm never not going to be a fan, and I'm always going to take everything in stride. But yes, I'm hype AF for what's coming over the course of the next 4 months. Sorry. Also, Star Wars Resistance Season 2. It's a good show. You should check it out. However, Kathleen Kennedy herself, again, interesting ride. She's been in the industry working with Spielberg now for 40 years as of this year, when he first met her when she was a writer's assistant on 1941, a movie he directed. He liked her, made her his personal assistant for Close Encounters. She then worked her way up to being an associate producer on Temple of Doom. And from there, she's kind of been like in our childhood, constantly, just in our childhood, in the front, in the back, all over the place. She's been there. She's been there. So as a result of her being in all these places, she does have a certain acumen for the business. She understands it. She knows it. She knows how to produce. The problem is she doesn't know how to lead and run a franchise and lead and especially one like Star Wars, which has been pretty apparent. So when I see this particular report coming out today that she might be stepping down in 2021, I'm thinking, yeah, I think it's going to happen. We all thought it was going to happen last year, right? We all thought it was going to happen last year. We all thought that it was going to be, at the end of her contract, they weren't going to renew it. Grace Randolph put out that video saying, that they had brought in like Kevin Feige and Jennifer Lee and all the Alan Horn and the heads of all the other divisions, basically to like kind of call her out a little bit. And then nobody wanted to take over the job. Like it was offered to J.J. Abrams and he didn't want to do it because, Warner's then came in and paid him out $500 million to bring Bad Robot over to Warner's, which means this is his last movie with Disney right now. So there's all that. There's a lot going on with the internal business side of Lucasfilm that has not gone the way that a lot of people have wanted it to. And as a result of that, Kathleen Kennedy potentially may not re-up her contract. Now, this is what the article says. It's no secret that the Star Wars fandom is divided. And following the release of Star Wars The Last Jedi, a certain loud sect of fans have been calling for her to step down as president. Once they made their displeasure of The Last Jedi known, they made it perfectly clear what they wanted done, but instead, Lucasfilm re-upped their contract with Kennedy through 2021. And there are people out there that can sit there and go, see, they clearly had faith in her. And if you really look at Bob Iger's memoirs and other things Bob Iger has said and his changing of like the yearly releases of Star Wars to not having any theatrical release from 2019 to 2022, clearly they're not that happy. But also, I do believe Grace Randolph here when she says that nobody else wanted the job. And it's one of those weird things when you look at the concept of Kathleen Kennedy and you look at the concept of what she's done and her history in Hollywood, you can see that she's better off as a producer rather than an executive leader of a brand. Now, she does have her company with her husband, Frank Marshall, and they have executive produced a ton of movies and they've overseen certain things. But this is Star Wars. This was a little bit different of a machine. This wasn't her like overseeing a film for another director or for another company. This is her running the show. And clearly there were problems and clearly there were things that just didn't work out. But let's find out more about where this information is coming from, because it's not a Mikey Sutton scoop, even though he did touch upon this a little over a year ago on his personal Facebook. So again, this has been stuff that's been going around for a while. It's kind of like an open secret, but now more people are talking about it, which is interesting. So it says on an episode of Now This Is Podcasting, Jason Ward from Making Star Wars stated that Kathleen Kennedy would be stepping down after Indiana Jones 5 is released. While there's no official release date, the expectation is July of 2021. That being said, if she does step down, the expectation is that she'd still be producing movies. Of course, this is all rumors, so be sure to take it with a grain of salt, but Jason Ward tends to be pretty reliable about this stuff, and the rumor does seem to line up with things based on the way they've been turning out. And if you just, again, a lot of this is more like educated guessing. It is. It's like educated guessing. If you have looked at the way Star Wars is running, where it's at right now, especially when in regards to the fandom, a lot of people out there love it. A lot of people out there aren't that fans of it. In fact, if you look at a lot of the the comments on this video or any other Star Wars video, you're going to find good, you're going to find bad across the board. That becomes this kind of norm for fandoms, but this is a very specific case because it's Star Wars. And Star Wars kind of always has the preponderance of being good. The problem with Disney Star Wars is that they didn't have a plan. And when you were trying to run a cinematic universe or you're trying to run a franchise and you don't have a plan, it all falls apart. I mean, come on, Hannibal from A-Team said, "Oh, I love it when a plan comes together," because that is just how things are. In regards to Kathleen Kennedy, that's just not what's happening. And so I think she's probably looking to plot her exit in 2021, and it makes sense to end it with Indiana Jones 5. It really does. It makes sense to end it with Indiana Jones 5 because if one of her first films as associate producer was working with George and Steven and Harrison on Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, it just makes sense to kind of bookend her timing or her time with Lucasfilm with the last Indiana Jones movie starring Harrison Ford. It just seems to make sense to me. And it's kind of poetic in its own right and things like that. And if she does go back to producing movies, I think people will be fine with it. I think people will be okay with it. They just don't want her running the show. Because Kathleen, what you need at Lucasfilm is a person who not only understands the business, but is kind of a semi-creative in their own right, which is one of the reasons why Kevin Feige is basically being touted as the next person to take over. Like he's going to absorb Lucasfilm into Marvel Studios, oversee both studios, and just have individual divisions running each one. It's massive, it's insane, and it's actually probably the best thing to happen to Star Wars because Feige is a self-professed Star Wars fan, is a huge fan of the franchise, has been his entire life, and he probably wants to go back to the EU and pull out some of those crazy ass old stories and tell those things, which ultimately is what fans want. And if there's one thing Feige is really good at, it is ultimately giving fans what they want. I mean, just look at the box office return of like the Marvel movies. He knows how to give certain fans what they want and build that brand loyalty. And at this point in time, that's what Star Wars needs. Now, diehard fans like me are always going to love Star Wars, are always going to rock Star Wars t-shirts and have Star Wars merch and stuff like that. I mean, if you look over here by the light, that's a pinned up Millennium Falcon rug on my wall. A rug on my wall. That's how big of a fan of him. I have a rug of the Millennium Falcon that I bought at Comic-Con pinned on my wall. So I have hope. I have a new hope for the franchise following the release of The Rise of Skywalker because I can look to see where things are right now and look to see that maybe Kathleen Kennedy learned her lesson. Put the creatives in the right position and let them create while she handles the business side of it, okay? In this case, it really is Filoni. Star Wars Resistance Season 2, the final season, but a Filoni creation. Star Wars The Mandalorian, created by Jon Favreau, but co-produced by Dave Filoni. Star Wars, Clone Wars Season 7. Oh, that's another Filoni thing. I mean, we can kind of see here that Filoni is the dude. Like, Filoni is the guy, but Filoni's not the executive to run it. If they brought him in to co-run it with someone who understood the business, maybe someone like Jon Favreau, which I could see that potentially happening as well, that would be fascinating. I think actual diehard Star Wars fans running Star Wars, and from a fan-based perspective and not just an industry-based perspective. And like I said, Kathleen Kennedy in the industry over 40 years. So she's got an understanding of how it works. She knows how it runs, but we're at a point now where that's not enough. All right. Movies made by committee aren't working out very well. We need fans and we need creatives to come in and tell these stories. And she's not the person to do it, but she is definitely the person to help get that done. And I think that should be what fans ask for. Don't step down, but produce. Put the right person in the right job and let the magic happen. And I think if we refocused our efforts that particular perspective, I think we would be able to look at Star Wars in an entirely different light. As I have been viewing this current slate of Star Wars based products coming out in the fall and winter in the early years of 2019 and 2020. I think if you look at it from that perspective, you start to see a good producer producing things. And that's what we should be focusing on. But anyway, if she steps down in 2021, I'm fine with it. If she steps down before 2021, I'm fine with it. If they re-up her contract in 2021 and she decides to stick around for 3 more years, that is some wild stuff. And I don't even think, like, as much as I love Star Wars, if I was in that position and enough people were saying that much crap about me, I'd probably want to retire from my role there as well. But if Star Wars is in an upwards trajectory and the fans are loving it again, they'll be able to find someone to take her place. No problem at all. But anyway, your thoughts, your opinions, I really want to know. Let me know down in the comments below. I will talk to you guys about this later. If you made it this far, do me a favor, type in Star Wars into the chat so I know. And while you're at it, hit that like. Let's try to get to like 200 likes because you love me, because you like the you like the Star Wars stuff behind me. You see the Build-A-Bear Chewie, the bobblehead Boba Fett. Clearly, I've got my cred on display. I don't even have it over here either. You know what? Screw it. I was going to look for something to have. You know what I have here? I'll show you guys this real quick, right? Show you guys how much of a fan I am. All right, I've got the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull graphic novel. All right, right here. So, just saying. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Have yourself a great day, and peace out.